Oh, now we are. Well, welcome, Alex and Nikita. We actually had like 4 people on the panel today. Alex, Nikita, me, and Angela. But Angela's having some real, the Shark and Jurassic Park movie style issues with the mic. I don't know what's going on. So, but the 3 of us today will run the show until we figure out what's going on with Angela's computer. Yeah, I've missed doing these. We were doing them during the last lockdown. So, welcome, Alex. Welcome, Nikita.
Thank you, mate. Good to be back on board.
Very good to be back.
For me, actually.
Round 3.
We are back for round 3, exactly. Lockdown 3.0. How cool is that?
That's out, that's for sure.
Interesting, because I think this lockdown was probably the most unexpected out of all 3. The last couple, we've had a lot more notice, or at least a little bit more notice than this one. But also in the last 2 lockdowns, the case numbers have been a lot higher. So when there's 100 cases a day or 200 cases, I think during the second lockdown we were pretty bad. We were getting like 600 a day or something. It was, I think all of us knew at some point we were going to go into a lockdown. It was only a matter of time. But this time, with 1 or 2 cases a day, it didn't appear to be as significant. It just happened so fast. So. And I think we've all become quite used to the normal lifestyle now, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Hasn't come as too much of a shock.
Yeah, just as I was thinking of packing away my home office, here we go again. I think I sort of jinxed us, maybe.
Lucky we kept our home offices around. So
yeah.
That's been handy. But obviously really interesting things have happened too. I mean, the market's done a complete 360 since the first and the second lockdown. And I know we briefly spoke about it this morning, that if the last 2 lockdowns are anything to go by, this time around when things reopen, hopefully it's this Thursday is scheduled, the last lockdown almost had this real spring effect where there was a spring that was pulled back, and as soon as the market reopened, bang, it was unleashed. And some of these properties are just going 200, 300, 400, $500,000 above what we ever thought they would go for during COVID times. Probably, obviously one at a time, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Who wants to go first? Alex?
we always do this. One of us goes to talk.
Yeah, we should go in alphabetical order.
I'm happy for you to go first if you want.
Yeah, all right, done.
All right, I'll chime in because I couldn't quite hear the end of you there, Kevin, but I'll go from the question that's down the bottom. So my interpretation of the way things have sort of panned out just over the last couple of months in particular, or the start of this year, what I'm finding is, like you say, the way it had that sort of that slingshot effect, Kevin, was a lot of these buyers who missed out, last year because of COVID or because of the stage 4 restrictions in particular. I think they're still in the market to buy now. So what we're seeing is, when we're asking people at open homes, how long have you been looking for? The majority are saying, oh, well, we've been in the market to buy for over a year now. We're pretty fed up with it. We just want to buy something. And that sort of mentality is showing at auction, because people have had enough. They're sick of coming to all the inspections. They're sick of looking. So they're going the extra mile to secure the home at auction, because they've been looking for as long as they have. So I think that's playing a massive part in what's pushing the prices up at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And what do you think, Nikita?
Look, it's definitely been crazy the last last 2 months, I guess, since we've really come out and, properties have come to the market, because there was that period where we came out of lockdown and then stock levels were extremely low, obviously, given the time of the year. And now, stock levels are, increasing. There's more buyers out there, and I'm finding there's actually quite a mix of buyers. It's not just those pre-qualified, ready-to-go buyers that we were dealing with in, the previous year prior to COVID, because they were still looking. They weren't able to find something. We're not just dealing with those buyers. We're dealing with a whole new group of buyers now too, that are just researching the market, sort of, testing the waters to see what kind of a product or what kind of area they're interested in. So in terms of, buyer demand, it's extremely strong. So, if you are looking at selling that, there's absolutely no better time than now. That's all I can say.
Now's the time to do it, 100%. And talking about this crazy market, I know just off the top of my head, we've had some ridiculously crazy sales lately. Not just us, but several sales in the market in general. But we've had a fair share of those, and a couple that sort of come to mind, like 18 Crawford Street, like that would have to be my highlight for 2021 so far, because who would have thought a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom villa unit would fetch 1.1 mil 10? And then the interesting part is, just as we have one, there we go, Angela's back.
Go on, Ange, have a crack at talking. Let's see what it sounds like
watch
now.
the spike in the views now. This is going to be unbelievable. The big audience is going to start joining. But, you know, just as we think we've got one sale that is a record price, the following week we proved wrong because something sells for an even bigger price. It's almost like this crazy race, because like we had 52 Jack Road, not a livable home and not the best end of Jack Road. It's sold for 1.215, and we thought, this is insane. And then last weekend there was one Jack Road, which was admittedly a bigger block and a beautiful home inside compared to what we had, but that sells for 1.35. And you sort of think, who would have thought some of these prices would happen? And same with, you know, some of the off markets, which we'll dive into a little bit later on. But it's my gut feel is, as this lockdown reopens again, and we've already seen a very strong spike in inquiries on all the properties that are online, because everyone's got a lot more time to browse for these properties and you know, do a bit of fact finding and try and search and inquire and all that sort of stuff. There is also a bit of a disparity in the market with homes, as in certain types of home getting more interest than the others, Alex?
I think so, mate. Yeah. What sort of notoriously what we would see going past from, you know, 2016, 2017 over the past few years was that the unit market was notoriously known as the strongest market, or the easiest sale, so to speak, because there's such a wide range of buyers out there looking for a unit. You know, you've got your downsizers, investors, first home buyers, young couples. But what we're seeing at the moment, it's actually the homes that are on larger blocks of land, or the bigger family homes, which are getting the most interest, which is it's caught me off guard to some degree. Yes, the unit market's still strong, but I think what we're finding at the moment is those properties which are you know, in excess of the $1 million price range are actually getting more inquiry than anything else.
Yeah, 100%. And your thoughts, Nikita? Is that you sort of finding the same?
It's funny you say that too, because, you know, before the announcements of these new stamp duty savings, you know, it was said to believe, I personally believe that, you know, property prices were going to go crazy, especially that sort of capping at 1 mil mark. And I could even sort of picture villa units hitting into that mil mark, even though if they're averaged at around 8 to 880, they'd still go up to that price range, just given the stamp duty savings that were going to come into play. But in reality, the trend that we've seen, these properties are selling for in excess of 1 million. So in a sense, it's really irrelevant to the market, that whole stamp duty savings saga, because we're seeing properties sell for so much more than that. So it's very interesting times at the moment, that's for sure, Kevin.
It's it's probably less relevant to our market, the stamp duty saying, but Angela, let you jump in. You've been patiently waiting there, and you've had all sorts of technical issues. It's probably fair to say that the 6 months of not being in lockdown, some of your equipment's, you know, gotten a bit rusty because it hasn't been used as frequently as it was during the lockdown. Every day your camera and your mic and everything was getting a good workout because every meeting was virtually done.
Yeah, so I'll ask the question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we've got you now.
I can't hear you. No, I'm joking. You are coming through perfectly fine.
Thank God. Well, I'm out in nature, as you can see, only because I've got my daughter Maria. She's inside on a Zoom call, and our dog's frantically running around going a bit nuts. So I thought the best place to be is outside.
How good is that? We are back to the good old memories, you know, halfway through an auction and the dog's barking and, you know, and the doorbell rings and, you know, the Amazon delivery you ordered yesterday has just arrived. Like, just all those things. We're getting to, you know, live that again.
Called real life.
Thankfully for a shorter period of time this time.
Real life, real people.
Yeah, exactly. Your thoughts, Ange. What have you seen so far, and what are your, obviously, you know, what are your predictions on what this quick sharp lockdown is going to do once we reopen? Especially bear in mind we've got a very small window between when things reopen through to Easter, because there's another sort of small space there when things do slow down a little bit. So we've got about sort of, you know, a 40-day, 45-day window between now and Easter, and throw the lockdown in the mix. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like we're going to have to hit the ground, not running, but like marathon sprinting. It certainly has been interesting. I've been calling it a very unpredictable market, but unpredictable in the good sense, of course, where, you guys all touched on it. Some exceptional results, homes that have sold directly next door and in excess of $200,000 just in the space of only a few months. And who's to say if the home next door, which is identical, comes up now, what that will bring? We can only go so far when we look at homes and give an estimate to appraise them based on, the facts and the data that we already have. But what someone is prepared to pay over and above that, it's any guess, really. All coming down to how much of the same type of home is available on the market. So stock-wise, is there an oversupply? And the answer is generally no. So it is really, it is a bit unpredictable. And I think, we just go back to what we always do, just our fundamentals, our processes, our planning to ensure that we get the best outcome, whether it is a private sale or an auction. But we know potentially what our worst case scenario is based on facts and data. And then, when the offers start coming in, anything's really possible. It's a funny time. And as for the next few days, I think it's going to be a repeat of next time. You guys have said it again. The online inquiries have already spiked. Our inbox is quite full. Our text messages are quite full as well. We're going to be booking in appointments, hopefully, assuming that Thursday and Friday will be out in the open again. And I think it's just going to pick up exactly where it left off. I think
it's funny how you say that about like these next few days, because when we went into the sort of stage 4 or previous lockdowns, there was so much more apprehension around where it was going to take us, and there was a lot more hesitation from buyers, and there was a lot. The conversations that we would have with buyers would be a negative conversation, whereas now it's like, when can we see through? This is more of an inconvenience because we want to have a look. When can we get out there and have a look next? So it's not like, it doesn't have that negative feel to it at all. I mean, obviously it's a lot shorter as well, but given the confidence in the market, I think this won't slow things down. It's only going to amplify it even further when we come out the back end of it.
And I think the buyer dialogue that we were dealing with a lot last year was, I'm just going to wait for the market to drop. I'm going to wait for the market to drop. And I can pretty much certainly say that if this is what we're dealing with now, the buyer demand and house sale prices, I can only imagine what spring's going to be like this year.
They might be waiting for a while to the market to drop from now, I think.
For sure.
Waiting a long time. I mean, when you look back, you almost certainly most of the time think, "Gee, I should have bought then." And it happens to most people at most times. When if you are looking at the market today, and if you look back, you think, "Shit, I should have bought a property in April or May last year." But then in April or May last year, people were thinking the market's going to drop even more because after the second lockdown and after JobKeeper comes to an end, things are just, the bottom's going to fall out and all that sort of stuff. But that probably brings us, good segue into the next question. I mean, do you guys, just a quick yes or no answer, we can go around in alphabetical order, but tough one because Alex and Angela are both A. Let's go with Alex. With quick answer, do we think the market's going to drop because JobKeeper's coming to an end soon, Alex?
No.
Nikita?
Absolutely not.
Angela?
No, they're not really the buyers that have been buying.
Exactly.
Yeah, my answer is no too, because I think, I don't think it's that relevant. People that are bidding at these auctions paying ridiculous prices. I've got this line I tell my sellers when I call them, is like, I'm calling you today to report a mind-baffling result. And we have a laugh about it, but these people that are paying these mind-baffling prices, they are not relying on JobKeeper. They've got, obviously, a lot more security. There's so much confidence with regards to them making that decision to purchase property. So no worries there. One of the interesting...
Just quickly, Kev, on top of that, I think some of the stats that we're seeing as well, like a lot of people were talking about from the economy point of view. Kevin, your camera's just catching up now, so you're not talking, but it's giving you all these ones. From the economy's point of view, a lot of people who lost their jobs, or 75% of those people who lost their jobs because of COVID, have now got the same job back or are in another industry. So the unemployment rates are dropping significantly as well, which I think will play a part. So that fear from the economy's point of view doesn't seem to be as prominent as what it was, back when all these allegations were being thrown around with the market dropping, 30, 35%.
Yeah, 100%. Which brings me to the next topic, which I'm actually super excited about this because the first time in my career personally, we've seen so many off-market sales for some crazy prices. And I think, I want to touch on a couple. I mean, my highlights being, one we just sold in Cherbourg Avenue in Beaumaris, which was $400,000 higher than what they were quoted by two other local agents, which, look, I'm not going to lie, it was a great feeling when we sold it. But we've also had some interesting ones. Like we had one on the main road in Hyatt, 350 square meters of land, 3-bed, 1-bath, non-beach side, original, no garage, all of the above, and that sold just shy of $1 million. So there's been some unbelievable ones. But I think it'd be great for you to talk through your recent sale, Alex, that you had that was off market, but it was like it had probably more competition than some auctions.
Yeah, definitely. So that was off the back of your Jack Road sale as well, which is good how, we can leverage off each other's sales within the office to help get others over the line. So 1 Princess Avenue was a property which we had 585 square meter block, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, original home, would require a lot of work. It's probably more of a knockdown, so it probably sold just for the land value side of things. The owner's asking price was $1,050,000, and we sold it just last week for $1,215,000. There was about 15 or 20 groups of buyers that I took through, and multiple parties looking to make offers. And the particular buyer for this property was, a very similar situation where they'd been looking for a long time, they'd missed out on similar homes. And they just got to that point of their search where they just said, look, what do I need to pay to buy this now before we potentially go to auction? Because the owner was open to having an auction campaign. He said, look, if you've got me $1,050,000 or above, then we'll sell it beforehand. Otherwise, we can go to auction. So in this instance, under a severe amount of competition, we got the $1,215,000, which everyone was very happy about, as you could imagine.
Severe amount of competition. I love it. That's excellent. I think there was an unbelievable price considering what a replica of that sold recently. We had another one in Cheltenham, non-beach side, fairly close to Southland, 3-bed, 1-bath, partially renovated home with a single garage, just above 350 square meters of land, and that sold for an interesting figure, $999,000, and that was off market too. And then we had the one in Beaumaris that I referred to before. Alex obviously mentioned the one in Princess. We had Rollins Road in Hyatt. There's been some really good off-market sales, and I know we've got a few in our pipeline that we're working on that are likely to sell as well as soon as the lockdown finishes. And I know we've sort of been online for a few minutes now, but we just quickly talked about it. I think good story time right now. Good segue into what's a good story. Can you guys think of? I know Alex already has a story ready to go. I can already tell from his face. But have you got what's your favorite story of recent times? Have you got a really good story that you can share?
Can you let me out of the cage? Can I tell my story, or do I have to wait for someone else to go?
Yeah, do it. Here you go, Alex. You go.
All right. Thanks, guys. I've been waiting my whole life to tell this story. So, no, Kevin's already touched on it, but it was the recent sale of 18 Crawford Street. It's probably one of the highlights of my whole life, to be honest with you. It was just unbelievable scenes. We launched it before Christmas. The aim was to have 15 inquiries over the Christmas break. When I was away living it up in the Gold Coast, I had 45 inquiries. So when you coming back, it was going to be a flyer. We had 50 groups consecutively for the first 2 opens. And 170 groups through the course of the campaign, multiple bidders, and reserve was in the 800s, and it sold over 1.1 million. So it was just crazy day. We had Mr. Whippy there on the day, serving out ice cream to everyone. We had the bubble machines going. Everyone was on fire, the whole team. A couple of hundred spectators there, and for a man who loves the spotlight, I was thriving off it and had an unbelievable time out there. So that was definitely my highlight, and hopefully we can match that with something else for the remainder of the year as well.
And for those of you that haven't seen the auction on Alex's Facebook page, there is a clip that you can watch as well that shows you just the excitement. I think there would have been over 100 people, and I remember coming to the auction, I was like, wow, this is going to go nuts. And there was, as soon as I entered and I spotted someone, and they said, you guys, a comment which has stuck with me, she said, you guys know how to put on a show. And I said, why do you say that? And she said, I've been to so many auctions, and just the bars, all your team looks super sharp, everyone smells great, everyone's chatty, has a smile on their face. As soon as you walk in, there's the Mr. Whippy guy offering everyone free ice creams. There's a bubble machine, so the kids, like, there was literally a row of kids all lined up around playing with the bubbles. You go inside, the property's fresh, clean, presents beautifully. And then we started the auction, and there's a bell that we ring, and then obviously Alex starts the show, and I mean, gee, wasn't that a show, that auction? So I highly recommend checking that video out, because that's definitely our DNA, and that's something we absolutely specialize in. So I agree with you, Alex. It was definitely one of my favorite stories too. Angela and Nikita, have you guys got a story you'd like to share?
Angela, you can go.
All right, no worries. I was waiting for you, Nikita. Thought I'd be polite. Yeah, a little bit different. It's not even orientated, but just something that came to mind, because I guess we talk about all these off-market sales, and we do sell a number of them. I'm not sure if it's like 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 that we sell off-market. And of course, just being Ray White and having the massive database that we have, we always tell our clients, let's refer to that first, see if we can get any interest from the buyers that we already have. And of course, if we do, fantastic, job well done. If not, let's take it to market. And, in some cases, I find that some owners are a little bit hesitant in going all the way to market. They know there's expenses and everything incurred. But of course, with that comes more opportunities. So there was this property that I had for sale, not in our core area. It was in Elwood, but nonetheless, the strategy is exactly the same and all the principles are the same. We had it on our database. We did get a couple of offers, the best one being $450, which for the property being all original, very small, was outstanding, and the owner accepted it. Unfortunately, it fell over due to finance. The young fella couldn't get his finance sorted. And after some toing and froing, the owner saw a lot of value in going on the World Wide Web, and mostly realestate.com. He was quite hesitant in spending a few $1,000s going there, thinking, I've got some time, and we hear this quite a lot. I don't have to sell. I can rent it. I'm not in a hurry. I'm happy to see what you get off your database. And true to word, we had the property online for a couple of days. We had our first inspection on the Saturday on realestate.com. We had 18 groups come through. Off the back of that, we had 3 to 4 offers, the highest offer being $30,000 more than what she originally accepted. Property is sold unconditionally. We've got settlement around the corner, and it just highlights, the power of marketing, which we all know to be true. And just another story, I guess, for those that are just holding off on thinking what the market's doing. Well, it's performing very, very well, and there's just more proof.
I mean, how else do you know? What a great story. But also, I think Crawford started off as a similar story where the sellers wanted it to be off market, and Alex did show a handful of buyers through, and obviously, made the right recommendation in that instance to say, guys, you should go to auction because it's going to be a popular property. And thankfully, they took his recommendations on board, and there was a great result. And same with what you just mentioned, Angela, as well. But also in a hot market, I mean, sometimes we get asked this question, why in a hot market you can just sell the property? Of course you can, but how do you know if you got the best possible sale price? Because one of the beauties of being a seller in a hot market is that you have the control. So wouldn't you want to show it off to as many people as possible, have a very strong campaign in place, and have the platform where people are just fighting over your property, and you look back and you go, okay, great, I did everything I could, and this is the absolute highest the market was willing to pay in 2021. So I couldn't agree more. That's a great story. And Nikita, you've got a story for us.
I do, yes. So we had a unit, a 3-bed, 2-bath unit in Cheltenham, 2 at 20 Gilman Street. Sorry?
I think.
Yeah, we've got you.
No, I think you cut out there. So we had a unit on Gilman Street in Cheltenham, beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Some parts of it were quite original, some parts were renovated. Mia, you might have some photos that you can show for us as well. So we had a price range of 900 to 990 on that one. Throughout the campaign leading up to the auction, we had 166 groups through. So very, very strong. There were over 20 groups through every inspection. That wasn't actually our original price range that we had either. I think we sort of had high 8s, but then obviously we readjusted it just given the interest that we were getting. And that's quite a common theme that we're doing at the moment, is really making sure that we're in line with the buyer feedback and also where the vendor's expectations are. And at the moment, that is a little bit hard just given how crazy prices are going at auction right now. So this was,
I think that's a good point. Actually, it's the vendor expectations. That could be one of the challenges that we face, next, because these prices are all pretty fresh and pretty recent. The buyer activity, it's all just sort of taking off. But what happens when you meet the vendor who then, the last sale, which is a crazy sale, becomes the new norm, the new benchmark. And that's something that we're going to have to face moving forward, I think, is how to deal with that and how to control the whole hype around it as well.
Absolutely, for sure. So
I've got you back, Kevin.
I'm back. I'm on a different
Sorry,
device.
Peter.
Obviously, my computer and my devices are a little bit rusty. Same as I had the same problem as what Angela had before. It kept freezing. I don't know why. But I promise I was listening to the story, and it was a great story about Gilman Street. One of my what's that?
Yeah, go on, Kev. I'm sure you're waiting. I'm sure you're waiting
selling that property for 1.121 at auction, and the buyers that actually purchased that were online. So it was a hybrid auction that we had. We had about 4 or 5 partake on site. And then the buyers who actually ended up purchasing that property, they were bidding online. So they weren't talking to anybody on the phone. They were just putting their bids in. Apparently, they were out in the country for the day. And, that was really important to them. They'd been to so many different auctions at this point in time. And they were just like, you know what? I'm not prioritizing my weekends anymore over auctions. If we can make it, we'll make it. And if we can't, then we'll just do it online. And if we lose it, then we lose it. So I think they were at a stage where they stopped being emotionally invested in properties because they'd obviously, lost out on so many auctions prior. They probably didn't even actually expect to win, but they did, and they were absolutely rapt. We were on the phone to them. They were screaming on the side of the road, happy. So that was such a great story. And just to this day, even thinking that, a little 3-bed, 2-bath unit, and like really the 3-bedroom, if you think about it, it's pretty much the size of a study. And that selling for 1.121, like it sets the benchmark for what we're going to expect this year.
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. Definitely.
A real key feature here is those buyers that think that it's going to go beyond their price point. They just have to be present. And if they don't want to be involved in it in person and get too caught up in it, we have that platform where they can do it online. They don't have to be there. They can do it online and take a little bit more caution and, take a step back, take a breather. But in their case, it was successful. So you just have to be there.
Like Will Smith says, get ready and stay ready.
Yep.
Yes.
Like we heard this morning, that a few of the auctions that took place yesterday as well. Obviously, all of them online, every bit of being online throughout Victoria. Some of them were fetching 200,000-300,000 over reserve, and that was, the whole thing had to be online, obviously, because of what we're at the moment. So it's a very valid point, Angela, and hasn't seemed to have steered away, many of the buyers anyway that are looking.
Yeah, definitely. And I heard they said it was like an 88% clearance as well over the weekend, close to 90%, which is fantastic. So, guys, I think 94% for Ray White. I mean, how powerful is that? And we say this in the most humble way possible. But if you are selling a home and you're not speaking to the market leader, you might really be missing out on that one opportunity you get in a lifetime to maximize your return on your sale price. So, just a shameless plug there for us. But more importantly, it's a good market. Hopefully the lockdown's not going to keep going for too long. Positive numbers, only one case today. So we hope and pray that, things reopen again this Thursday. We've got a whole heap of inspections and auctions lined up between now and next room. There's a lot more to come. Guys, thank you so much for joining today and obviously jumping on and sharing your thoughts. And if the lockdown does get extended for whatever reason, well, if you don't watch the news and if you see the four of us pop up again on Facebook with the updates on the market, just know that the lockdown's been extended. If for whatever reason if you don't keep an eye on the news, that's your way of finding out. But thank you so much, guys, for joining today and sharing your thoughts. And may the force be with you.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Thanks, guys.